Is it possible to make jokes in a democracy? Is it safe for democracy for jokes to persist? Jack Posobiec, super hardcore right-winger, makes a joke about democracy. And so far that Bill Maher forgets how to joke. And Whoopi says, you know what, Queen, hold my hair. I'll show you how to be a super extremist. Here's the joke Jack Posobiec made that is making everyone on the left lose their minds. Remember, this seems like an offhanded joke. Maybe he regrets it. Maybe he should have doubled down. Here's Jack. Go, Jack, go.
All right, welcome. I just wanted to say, welcome to the end of democracy. We're here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it and replace it with this right here.
A white
We'll
fist?
replace it with this right here.
Oh,
Amen.
That's right, because all glory is not to...
Can you imagine being so triggered by this stupid joke? It's so silly. We're ending democracy today. But you know what? Democracy needs to end. And then Axios the next morning makes this, Trump's GOP shows this extremist, and could be a problem in November. So much so that even Bill Maher, who's a comedian, I'm not so sure he is anymore, says this about the joke. Look how triggered he looks. He is, okay, listen to his voice when he talks about this joke, because in his voice, I feel like you can kind of tell he is struggling within himself to try to be very serious and talk about the end of democracy and that the right is the real issue. And then you can hear it in his voice where he's even questioning himself. It's just so silly. Listen to the question.
CPAC, do you know what that is? That is the conservative... What is it?
Unfortunately.
What is PAC?
Political Action Committee.
Political Action Committee. Okay.
Yeah.
It's their big convention every year. It's like corporations have a big convention. They have their big convention. I made jokes about it every year. I can't remember the last time we didn't. It goes
Exactly. What's CPAC? Oh, I've made jokes about it. I have no idea what it is, but I've made some jokes.
way back. I remember once calling it the Woodstock for the mentally impaired.
Oh my God, a good throwback joke? How can Bill Maher talk about right-wingers being mentally impaired? That is not funny.
But in years past, it was like the most conservative commentators and senators and governors.
Right.
And okay, this year there's a guy, I've heard this name, I don't know who he is, Jack
Nobody does.
Posobiec. He's doing sort of like a roundtable discussion. You know, it's a convention, they have these things.
Yes.
This is a quote. Welcome to the end of democracy. We are here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it. Am I missing an item here?
Exactly. Does this look like a round table discussion?
I just wanted to say, welcome to the end of democracy.
Oh my God, round table. God, you don't even know where your joke's from, Bill Maher. Okay, now watch him absolutely get shellacked right back in his face.
Missing a joke, or is it, as it seems now, they are saying the quiet part out loud?
Yeah.
That they are not. This is CPAC. This is Republican conservative, their big convention.
You can hear it in his voice. He's starting to question his own thoughts because he knows it's absolutely ridiculous. Bill, a joke is you take something that's common knowledge or something other people believe, and then you take it to the extreme, and it becomes funny. It lets off some steam. Yeah, we're ending democracy. So funny. And he's just so triggered by this.
And you have a guy like this, and the crowd is loving it. Welcome to the end of democracy. We're here to overthrow it. January 6th was good. Now we're going to finish the job.
Are you serious?
Thoughts on that?
And who's leading the charge? None other than Jack Posobiec.
Bill, that was a joke about Trump making a joke about being a dictator day one in office. That is an ironic take on how the liberal
that was
media
my question. Am I missing the irony?
Conservatives, I think so. Yes, it's a joke.
Really?
But, yeah, and I think more to the point. To you, Bill.
Am I missing the joke? It's the most obvious joke known to mankind. God, it's just so ridiculous. Okay, hold your guns. Okay, so here's Whoopi. who's also a comedian. But you tell me if this is a joke.
Well, the Supreme Court won't hear oral arguments until the end of April. Now, let's look at a scenario where the Supreme Court says, yes, he has all those rights. He is immune from everything.
Yes, Queen.
You know what Joe Biden could do since he is presently president?
Tell us, Queen.
Whoa. He could throw
Read
every
your list.
Republican in jail.
Can you imagine writing this list? I bet somebody gave this list to her. This is what he could be doing. AKA, this is what we wish he would do.
Yeah. I mean, he could. I mean, no.
I'm serious.
He could go. What this means is he could do anything.
Yeah. Right.
He could dismiss everybody's debt.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
he could impregnate me.
there's a whole bunch of great stuff that could happen, but let's really look at what this means.
Yeah. So they're basically kicking the can down the road, though.
Right.
They're not taking up this case immediately.
Right. But, let's throw every Republican in jail. She is joking here, right-wingers. Can't you tell it in her voice?
The Supreme Court says, yes, he has that.
It's a joke. Get over it. She's the comedian. This doesn't sound like a joke. This sounds like a stupid joke. Not joke, joke. Not joke, joke. Joke. Not joke, serious joke. Not joke. Okay. Remember the good old days when you could just make a silly joke and no one would write a blog about it? Everyone is clout chasing and wanting their podcast to do well, that they'll use other people's names, like I'm doing mine right now, in order to get clicks. And so they create these entire narratives off something that's just so silly. And I think this is a perfect example of it. It's one of those examples where you take something very small because there's only so much you want to talk about, or only so much you feel comfortable talking about, and then you create an entire narrative about it so that it arouses your base up. Like, oh my God, wow, Jack Posobiec is literally calling for the end of democracy. It's just so triggering for everyone in the audience. And then they're creating an entire narrative, and then he finds out it's a joke, and he's like, oh. It's like, Bill, did you watch the clip, or did you just read it? Because there's a clip circulating. And I always recommend not only just reading something, but watching the clip based on what it's reading, if it's available. See as many sources as you possibly can in order to create an entire narrative. You would think a guy at that caliber would be able to do something like that. No. I feel like these people are just winging these shows like I do. I have a full-time job. Bill, you don't. This is your job. Research. Find some researchers who are going to see a joke like this and be like, Bill, don't do it, dude. It's probably a joke. And they probably were offended, and they're not offended. They're laughing. You propose always that you're like okay with offending the right, but all of a sudden when the right offends you, it's like, oh God, that's not a real joke. That is not something to joke about. Democracy is not something to joke about. And again, do you think democracy is something to joke about? Yes. Have a wonderful day. And remember, owning the left isn't necessarily about being a total douche. It's also about making jokes and punching up, because nothing destroys a narrative more than punching up. Have a wonderful day.